Hey, what's happening, everybody? I'm going to start this one off by saying one of the toughest dilemmas that good men and we encounter nowadays is the dilemma of why is it so much easier to have relations than it is to have relationships. What's up, y'all? It's DjRon, the classic DJ from the Bay, also known as Righteous Ron, not because I am righteous, but because I'm striving for it. You know what I mean? I'm striving for it. And at the moment, I'm just driving with a thought in my mind that I just couldn't wait till I got to the house to share it with you. Couldn't wait till I got to my spot so I could share it with you. But here I am in my vehicle, as usual, and I want to share it with you. What do I say? That it's a dilemma for good men and for good women. And the thing about it is that we don't talk about it enough, right? It's much easier, though, to have relations than it is relationships. Almost like it's much easier for people to get blessings for God, but don't want to have the relationship with God because they know what it requires and what it entails. I promise you, a lot of people, they're acting like as if they are walking with Him and talking with Him every day, as if they're God-fearing, but not everyone is there yet. We may be striving for it. We hadn't made to that point yet. But oftentimes they're faking and perpetrating. I'm just saying. That's just the way that it goes. You know what I mean? But what I'm going to talk about now is one of the hardest things that it is, particularly for a female, to deal with is the introduction of celibacy from the opposite sex in a potential relationship. Now, it makes them crazy. And here's the reason why. Because now what pawn does she have to control the game? You get what I'm saying? She can't use sex to manipulate, so what pawn does she have to control the game? So look, we're going to get into it a little bit more into details. DjRon, the classic DJ from the Bay. Let's take it back to the past, and then we're going to start moving forward.
From the day we met up until right now, if I wanted that girl, I always knew how to find her and get her and take her home. Getting everything I wanted when we're all alone. Every time I see her, it's time to toss. I'm walking in the door, taking everything off, cause I know I'll get it. Now and later, call me shit, and I'll tell her so.
Now that I'm back and I'm still rocking and rolling on the road, I know I joggled your thought process, right? Have you thinking about why is sex a pawn and why would you even want to do celibacy? Well, this is for people that typically want to be good. G, that's a capital G, O, capital D. That means you got God in you, and if you're like me, you've been doing things your way for mostly, if not all your life, and you say, you know what, you hear a little bit of God's words, you know, you talk to people who are successful in doing what they're doing as far as marriage, stuff like that goes, and, you know, the more you learn, the better you want to be, right? And in order to do better, you have to know better. So one of the things that the Bible says is that we're supposed to flee fornication. You understand what I'm saying? So that means celibacy, and celibacy is a great tool to do it. Well, why you say it's a great tool? I already talked about how sex cannot be used as a pawn on the men, you know what I'm saying? Now, on the flip side, it could be a great thing for the men and for the women, not as a manipulation tactic, but more so because God says so. It's good because God said it's good. You understand what I'm saying? Flee fornication. And also, another scripture that says in this category is that the man that finds a wife findeth a good thing. Now, how do you know if you found that good thing if it's because you got a good thing? Ladies, how do you know that you are a good thing for a good man if the sex is good and that's really all that you got to work with? You understand what I'm saying? So when we're dealing with celibacy, I got a video queued up. Don't worry about it. That actually I've been wanting to talk on this topic, and the video is a vehicle that I'm going to use to help us to broach the topic. But this is only an excerpt of the video that I'm going to use, and depending on how things go, depending on the thought process with it, I might have to come back and talk about it once or two more times. You know what I mean? But here's the thing about when we talk about dating to marry. You understand what I'm saying? We're talking about being a good man wanting a good woman, being a good woman wanting a good man to have a great marriage. You understand what I'm saying? A good marriage. God is in it and makes it great. You understand what I'm saying? I talked in other videos about how it becomes exponentially greater. You know what I mean? When the two become one, then that one, it explodes, right? It multiplies. You understand what I'm saying? Because when you have a good couple that love the Lord, you can have great children, even stepchildren, which go into grandchildren, and so on and so forth. The example being set, friends, brothers, sisters, nieces and nephews, see what y'all got going on, want to duplicate it, do what y'all tell them to do, as far as the advice that you give, and it grows exponentially. Okay? All right. So someone would say, remember I talked about before, it's easier to have relations than it is to have relationships. And then it may have someone to think that, well, if that's what it is, then the relationship must not have been all that good. You know what I mean? So therefore, y'all don't have a relationship. But no, that's not always it. You know what I mean? Because sometimes we did it and we did it and we did it. And then it was so good that now you're locked in with somebody who's a fatal attraction. You've been there, you've done it, you know what I'm talking about. And it's more so because of what you did to them rather than what you did for them and what y'all did for one another. You become disconnected and of what it can be and what you don't want it to be, if that makes sense. You understand what I'm saying? So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to jump into the video. Let me cue it up. All right. Bad as I wanted to, y'all, I just couldn't do it while I was rolling. Just couldn't get the video to quite act the way we wanted, but that's okay. Here we go.
I love the Lord.
Here we go.
I plan to get married, but there's no way I'm marrying somebody before I have sex with them. I need to know what I'm dealing with for the rest of my life. Yeah. I love the Lord. I do plan to get married, but there's no way I'm marrying somebody before I have sex.
Now that right there is a dilemma within itself, right? They always say, why would you want to test drive your vehicle? Why wouldn't you want to test drive the vehicle before you make the purchase? You understand what I'm saying? But I don't know. While I understand the philosophy behind that, the truth in the matter is this. Every vehicle that I've had in my lifetime, I knew what I wanted when I wanted it, because it was something about that vehicle that got my attention. You understand what I'm saying? So, did I test drive every vehicle that I purchased? I did. But my mind was already made up, this is what I'm going to have. So, again, why not? Or how crazy to flip that philosophy, because the bottom line is, if you know you want marriage, you know sex is a part of marriage, we may not understand that we're going to have sex part of marriage 3-4 times a week, you know what I'm saying, or whatnot, how we going to do it, what we going to do, and everything else. So, is there really a such thing as bad sex? Like, I guess that'd be the part of the dilemma, right? Is there really a such thing as a bad vehicle? You understand what I'm saying? It's going to be recalled? You know what I'm saying? I guess that's the dilemma, right? I guess that's the problem with itself. Let's let them cook a little bit more.
Because I need to know what I'm dealing with for the rest of my life. Yeah. Talk to this person.
Let's see what they say.
This whole idea of I've got to test drive something before I'm, fully committing to it. Let's just have a conversation about that. So let's use a car. Yeah. I'm not going to buy a car unless I test drive it. There's not a car that you've ever kept for 45 years.
That's true. However, there are some that I would keep that, my first Cutlass, I wish I could have kept that one. You know what I mean? My second Cutlass that I got was tighter than my first Cutlass. I wish I could have kept that one. The only reason why I didn't was because I was married at the time. We had 2 kids. We needed a family vehicle, so got a Camry. You know what I mean? Why did we get a Camry? Because I like Camrys. Matter of fact, I am sitting in a Camry now. This is the third, is it number 3? This is the third Camry I've had in a lifetime. You get what I'm saying? I know what I like. I'm pretty much dialed in on what I like. You understand what I'm saying? So that's just my philosophy. Let's see what he got to say. By the way, this is Lecrae, the rapper Lecrae. I just realized I have no idea what he had no idea what he looked like. I don't know who the other guy is. The interviewer is Lecrae. Don't know who the other guy is, but anyway, let's go. Let me know.
I test drove the car. I bought the car, and then I traded it in 7 years later for.
I personally have never done that. The only reason why I got rid of a vehicle was, let me just think, most recently. At one time, 4 vehicles I had. One of them was my mother's car. I bought her a Camry. It was her car. She had it at her house. She was driving. The next one, this Camry. Paying 2 car notes at the same time, by God's grace. Able to do it. The third one was my Toyota Sequoia, which I used that for my heavy hauling, DJing and whatnot. Got to throw the speakers in there, do some catering, because yes, I'm Chef Ron as well. You know what I mean? Channel about to come real soon. Chef Ron the Humble Servant. Be on the lookout. But I would have that to be able to carry equipment and stuff like that. Plus, I like the Sequoia. That thing was a beast on the freeway. You know, smooth as I don't know what. Loved it. You understand what I'm saying? And the fourth vehicle was my old school Toyota Supra. I always like to have an old school something in the garage. Something that's sporty, something I can hop in, got some beat in it, and be able to zip and, you know what I'm saying, vroom, around town. You understand what I'm saying? Well, Sequoia got wrecked. I didn't trade it in. It got wrecked. Couldn't find another one because Sequoia is such good vehicles. People don't want to give them up. Hint, hint. You know, you got a good woman. You don't want to mess that up. Got an Escalade, an upgrade, right? Some people would look at it as an upgrade. Never had nothing with no rims. I used, you know, I wasn't always a righteous Rhino. You know what I'm saying? I used to do some other things in my lifetime, so I never wanted nothing with rims on it. Finally, got an Escalade with some rims on it and everything else. This needs to go in the garage. Why? Well, first of all, I live on Front Street. I live on the main street in my city. And you know what I'm saying? If anybody was looking for me, not to say that they would be, but if they were, that's where you live, right there. The main street in Richmond, California. If you know, you know. You know what I mean? I don't live in that spot no more, but at the time, so I'm not going to leave my Escalade on 26s parked on the street. I'm not doing that. You understand what I'm saying? So it's got to go in the garage. Well, if that's in the garage, now I got to take the Supra out and park it on the street. And I just got tired of seeing it on the street, so I ended up selling to this little young Hispanic dude. Him and his dad, they came and checked it out, test drove it. They did. They test drove it real quick, make sure the motor wasn't messed up like that. But they knew what they wanted. He's got him a gym though, you know, T-tops and everything else, beating it already and everything else. Cashed out, drive off. That was how they did it. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm saying that to say, this camera right here, I don't plan to trade it in. You understand what I'm saying? Give it to my son, if nothing else, you know what I mean? But I don't plan to trade it in. So again, I understand the philosophy, but at this point, am I looking to be with anybody for 45 years? No, but 30 is, you know, is a good, strong number though. 35 is possible. You get what I'm saying? But when you know what you want, you get it because that's what you want. That's what you like. Every vehicle I had the intention to hold on to it and keep it, including the Escalade I got now.
Graded model. So even the idea of test driving means that there's no long-term commitment. Because what it means is I'm in until I can find something better that I can afford.
So let me give you another way of looking at it, because a house is something that people would get for a long time. I don't know how old you are, but if you remember back in 2008, I think it was, a lot of people started walking away from their houses because the bank said it wasn't worth it. Society said it was no longer worth what you purchased for. So now, therefore, you're upside down. But usually when you buy anything, if it's within the first couple of years of this Camry, I was upside down on my car note. Again, you buy what you want. So regardless of what anybody else says, well, you should walk because it ain't worth it no more. Won't. Guess what happened? Those people walked away from those houses. Let me take a quick drink of water. Got my blessed cup today. Of course, I've been to church, so yeah. Anyway, and it keeps it real cold, nice and cold. Thanks. Shout out to the mother from the church gave me that. Back to what I'm saying. A lot of people walked away from those houses that are now worth double and triple in California, worth double and triple what they walked away from. So in other words, they bought it at a good price, right? At a cool price that they thought was affordable. They were told that the house was worth half of what they paid for it. They walked away because they felt like they was buying something that wasn't worth it. Now the house was worth triple what they walked away from at. Cold game that was played. Be that way about your love when you want and you got what you want. You're not going to want to walk away. So therefore, you're not losing any value.
Your ability to control yourself prior to saying I do is also your first test of can I keep my commitment till death do us part.
So that's the end of that video. That's the end of that part of it. It's a short. This is going to be short and sweet. I plan to go back and visit the video. I'm going to find some excerpts that we're going to find. There's some questions that has been asked. We're going to answer them, and then we're going to see what they say. You know what I mean? And, of course, it's the decision that you have to make for yourself when it all comes down to it. But celibacy, again, is something that we don't talk about a lot. It is truly, truly a dilemma for good men and for good women. And I'm just one of the thought process that, like I said, I've had several different relationships in several different ways. You get what I'm saying? And I was just talking to an old friend of mine and talking about me basically being separated since December 31st, 2009 from my wife. Which means I've been celibate slipping, but celibate ever since then. What do you mean? There have been times where I got busy. You know, no lie, on Facebook, reconnected with an old friend from my neighborhood who recognized me. I didn't recognize her. But if I tell you I was heel fished, what I mean by that, she had a look that I always liked. All her pictures, she would wear some jeans with some heels. Jeans with some heels. So I ain't gonna lie, I was enthralled. I was like, man, I like this, what I'm seeing. So we ended up hooking up and we went out, and she was talking about getting married and everything else, which I just got out of marriage. I'm not thinking about getting married and nothing like that. However, I did like her. Well, push come to shove, we got to the part where we got busy. And me, knowing where I messed up at and what I need to do and what I want to do, if I'm ever going to get married, it's going to be with my lifetime partner, and I know how I'm supposed to get there. Mind you, my wife and I, we started out celibate. Well, actually, we was active. We was active before. We stopped talking for about a year, got back together again. Celibate, slipped up. Celibate, slipped up. Knew we was getting married. Celibate, slipped a couple more times. Got married. Honeymoon night was on and popping. You understand what I'm saying? Sex was not a problem through the marriage. That wasn't it. So anyway, with this lady here, man, I ain't gonna lie, I knocked the boots and was feeling guilty though, because I knew that I had made a commitment to the Lord that I was gonna do it his way. Hit him again and felt guilty, but that wasn't even it though. The fact, remember I said, knowing what you like? This is a benefit of being celibate. When you're celibate, you know what you like, and you see what you like, but now it's not even about test driving the whip. Yeah, you're test driving it for a different reason. You want to see if it's as luxurious as you think it is going to be. You understand what I'm saying? Is the air going to be as cool as I need it to be in the summertime? And is a heater going to be as hot as I need to be in the wintertime when it's cold? Yeah, I hope it didn't go over your head. You understand what I'm saying? Is the rubber going to meet the road the way I need it to? It's going to handle the way I want it to when I'm going through, driving through the rain and all that kind of stuff. These are things that you're test driving for. Sex has nothing to do with this. Well, with her, and for me, it just made me think that I got to be extra careful when I deal with women my age. She can't wear heels no more. She wears tennis shoes all day. Fly though. You know what I'm saying? Feelers and Adidas and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Nike Airs and everything else. Wifey Airs, whatever you want to call it. That's cool, but I liked the Lexus with the gold emblem. You understand what I'm saying? You're telling me that it's a Camry. I done dealt with Camrys for a long time. I was upgrading to the Lexus with the gold emblems. You can't wear the heels no more and everything else. And cook me in the comments if you want to. That was my thought process. So her and I, then other things started coming to the forefront, but that was one thing it was a near deal breaker for me. You know what I mean? So that's her. Well, for a long time, I went on school, culinary school and everything else. Cool, calm, collected, no problem. Well, COVID hit, and I shared this story before, because I'm a social butterfly, because of the things that I be doing as far as DJing, catering or whatever. I'm constantly around people all the time. Well, when COVID happened, everything was shut down, so I'm constantly by myself, at home, by myself, quarantined, all that kind of stuff and everything else, because remember, it was no outside. Outside was closed, especially California. Outside was closed for a very long time. I need somebody in my life. In comes girl number one. Actually, girl number one wasn't even this girl. Girl number one was somebody I DJ'd for, who was thicker than a snicker, but she was married at the time. And Three the Hard Way. Check out my video, Three the Hard Way. I don't do it, although she was very, very tempting. So now she's not married no more, and I don't even know how we ended up talking. I think she wanted to book me for something else, and we just got to talking. We was on the same page. You understand what I'm saying? I really want to knock these boots. You understand what I'm saying? But I'm trying to be cool about it, but I really want to hit them. Then the other girl came into the picture too. And the other girl came into the picture, and we just connected. We vibed a little bit harder. This is benefits of being celibate. We vibed so hard that she spent a lot of time in my house, sleeping in my bed, and we were not getting it on. Not that she didn't want to, not that I didn't want to, but we really was doing things, reading scripture together and everything else. But again, celibacy, it has its privileges. Time is one commodity that we all have, and if we pay attention to it, it can teach us a lot. Time will promote or expose anybody. Me and her, we were cool. We got along well. She didn't mind doing for me. I didn't mind doing for her and everything else. You know what I mean? It almost went down, like really went down a couple times in a good way, in a major way, but we kept our composure. But it was something that happened. The way she treated her son showed me that if you could do this to your flesh and blood, what would you do to a stepdad? And her son was like near grown, but it's just the way she went about it just didn't resonate with me. We had to break it off. I had to break that off. All right. A couple months later, same year, this lady, I've been liking her since we was 10 and 11 years old. She was a year older than me. High school together and everything else. Older than me, a year older than me. Little bow-legged, little thick thing. I liked this girl. We almost started talking when I was in culinary school, but I'm focused though. I'm focused in culinary school. So when we did talk, you know, she loved the Lord, I love the Lord. And I remember one conversation, we almost talked, remember I just told you about the vehicles I had? Well, I don't even know how we started talking about it, but then it seemed like she was trying to outdo me. We wanted to see who's blessed more and everything else. And it might not have been an intent, but that's the way the conversation sounded. But anyway, needless to say, too focused, didn't get with her. But then a little bit later though, I remember I was doing something. I did some plates. I was doing some catering. I was exhibiting my thing. She came and got one. And man, remember I talked about the heels and whatnot? Well, she had on the heels on the romper. And she had filled it in even better. No work done, nothing like that. It's just that she just developed. She was always bow-legged and petite. Now she was thick and bow-legged and everything else. And she was letting me know that she was for me. And she really was. She really was. But I had some stuff going on. My mother was very, very ill. Documented stuff, y'all. I've been talking about before my mom passed away and everything. And I remember us having a conversation, me and her having a conversation. And I referenced about my mom being in the hospital. She's like, oh. And what it was that I hadn't communicated everything with her, so she felt like I wasn't in the loop. And it led her to think that she was not the one for me. And she was right, because it really was, because we was getting it on. I ain't going to say we wasn't celibate. I ain't going to lie. We was getting it on. But that's what it became, though. You understand what I'm saying? The lust kind of took over. That's why celibacy is much more important. You understand what I'm saying? I'm just saying, this is stuff that I learned. You could feel like how you want to feel everything else. Well, at least you hit them and everything else. Yes, she treated me well for my birthday. Took me to my favorite spot, Southern Cafe, which because it's the pandemic, because it's COVID, we got to wait outside for the food. We wait an hour or so, just sitting up there talking. I'm looking at the brothers, looking at my girl. Word to the wise, the OG once told me, if you don't want your girl looked at, get your ugly one. Oaktown brothers was looking like, you know what I mean, little bro, got him a thing over here, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. OG was tight like that, you know what I'm saying? We reconvened though, a few years later, but then she had a sickness that was going on. I'm still praying for her, and I had a move I was about to make that just prevented us from being together, although we could have been good. She was wifey material, no doubt about it. All right, well, just before me and her reconvened, I had the perfect woman of my dreams. I did. I had the woman of my dreams that was ready to do for me whatever I needed, whatever I wanted. You know what I mean? I wake up with money in my drawers and everything else and whatnot. My problem again, I was untrue to the Lord with her. And the way I slid up on her, though, it was just like, you know what? Again, she liked me for what I've done to her as opposed to what I did for her and what she could do. So she was doing everything for me, but it's for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? She wasn't in love with me. She was in love with am I able to just be grown with it? Righteous, right? Am I able to be grown with it? I think it was more lust than it was love, and it seemed too good to be true. Although it was as true, it was as real as I wanted it to be, but my heart wasn't in it. You know what I'm saying? She was much more for me than I was for her. I just was not feeling it. A lot of times I regret that. I know her beautician well. Her beautician tells me every time, like, man, you a good one. That lady really loved you. But then, you know, mixed messages and everything else, I don't have time for that. You know what I mean? I need something solid. I need something solid. So look, there it is. And then that's when I got back with the OG again. We was cool, but like I said, I had to make a move. She's got her sickness and everything going on. Shout out to her. The one person that I really went out with in the public with, and we was like on a date. We went to a concert to see one of my classmates. My classmate know who this is. She know who I'm talking about. You know, just know this lady she was good for me, good to me, but because also my classmate know what was going on in my life, so it just didn't work out. So anyway, look, this is just part one though. This is just part one. If y'all like the stories that I'm telling and everything else, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. definitely gonna go through the video, the full video, see what more we can extract from it, what we can bring to this forum, and let's see what else we can learn. All right. But in the meantime, DJ Ron, the classic DJ from the Bay, also known as Righteous Ron, because I'm striving for it. I'm not there yet, but I'm striving for it. You understand what I'm saying? I love and appreciate you all. Thanks for helping me get the numbers up. The goal now is to get to 1,500 subscribers on my birthday, July 5th. I believe we can do it. I believe you could do it. Like, comment, share, all that good stuff and everything else. Let's come back together. Let's reconvene. Let's see some more benefits of celibacy, if there are some. Some of y'all may say, you know what? Nah, Ron, you did your thing. You know what I mean? Don't see no benefit. I like doing it this way with everything else. You know, is God's way the best? We're going to find out when it's all said and done. Take care. And as always, God bless. Remember, it's good to be good. It's better to get better.